Last week I spoke about my interest in high school settings in drama, particularly US high school settings. Go back and watch that video for more. Riverdale follows the lives of Archie Comics characters Archie Andrews, Jughead Jones, Veronica Lodge, and Betty Cooper as they make their way through high school. In the 79th episode, however, they graduated. Archie was joining the army, the rest were off to college. From episode 80 onwards, the gang were now grown up and years had passed. The high school remained a setting, however, with all of them returning to Riverdale and taking up teaching roles, which they sometimes even work at. But I'm really leaping ahead here. Let's go back to 2016. I had heard that an Archie TV series was coming, and that it would be a little dark and a little edgy. Truth be told, I'd lost track with the comic books when I was still a kid, but I still knew from staying in touch with comics in general that there were now modern interpretations of the characters in versions of the Archie comic that had moved with the times. Jughead, for just one example, was now asexual in one line of the comics. Would he be asexual in the TV show? So many questions. When Riverdale debuted in January of 2017, however, I didn't tune in. I can't remember why. Probably trying to watch several other shows and read half a dozen books simultaneously, while also making my Doctor Who podcast maybe? I don't know. But anyway, a month or two later, an old work colleague, a guy a little older than myself, declared that Riverdale was excellent guilty pleasure TV. I put a lot of stock in what this guy says, and the guilty pleasure part really intrigued me. Was the series not taking itself seriously? Was it a bit bonkers? I knew it had some former big-name TV stars, like Luke Perry and Machen Amick, playing parents on the show. Did he mean that? And what about the dark and edgy stuff I'd been hearing about? Finally, I was at the tipping point of being curious enough about the series to make some time and watch the show for myself. And the result was, I really liked it. In fact, I ate it up. In its first season, Riverdale presented as a dark, misty sort of landscape. It was like a teenage version of Twin Peaks. The fact a genuine mystery was at hand, and as you know from the previous video, I enjoy mystery shows, really surprised me in some ways, but was extremely welcome. I instantly understood why my old workmate had given it the thumbs up in general. It was good. Over the years, until the present day, however, I must also be fair and say the show hasn't always been this way. At times, to be frank, it's been bloody awful. You know how some TV shows jump the shark? Well, Riverdale has jumped the shark, then gone back to do it again, and again, and again, over time. It's that kind of show. And unlike a show that jumps the shark only to crash and burn within a season because it's totally lost the plot, this is one where a jump the shark episode will be instantly followed the next week by something so funny or charming or just well written that you genuinely wonder if you're still watching the same show. This was really jarring the first half a dozen times it happened, but over time it has painted a picture of a series to me that's unafraid to do what it wants, when it wants, and who cares what the consequences are. If it wants to make a parody of the legendary 80s film The Breakfast Club in an episode, it will. If it needs to have characters doing things that are completely out of character but serve a narrative it wants to chase for a while, it will. It's quite thrilling in that sense, so long as you're on board with the broader premise of the show in the first place. In many ways, it's like reading a comic. So why would you watch Riverdale if you never have before? This will differ for so many people. For me, it's the characters. I'm particularly into Jughead, for example, who presents as the thinker in the core group of characters. Yet he's also someone who's been part of an outlaw motorcycle gang and has made plenty of mistakes. Indeed, in the post-episode 79 era, where he's a grown-up now, rather frustratingly, he's probably more failure than success. It does also help that Jughead narrates parts of some episodes too, so to me, Riverdale often feels like a story that he's telling. I see Jughead as hugely central to the plot. Jughead's also tended to have the more believable storylines over time, compared to, say, Veronica running an illegal speakeasy under Pop's diner, or Archie becoming a fighter in an underground boxing ring whilst also doing time in juvenile detention. Recent episodes, however, where Jughead can read people's minds, might start to balance that ledger, however. Where Riverdale goes in the future, or even from episode to episode, is anyone's guess. I know at the time of making this video that the series has been renewed for another season, which will be its 7th. Could this be the end of the show? Even as someone who finds time to watch an episode each week while the show's running, part of me hopes that it is. Characters at this point are reasonably played out. Storylines have more legs thanks to the way, as I mentioned, the series has no problem from radically lurching from concept to concept, so it's never actually stuck going down just one path. But does it need to? Does the world need more Riverdale? If you've been watching the series, why not toss some thoughts below in the comments? And if you do, give me some background as to where you're coming from. Have you only just started and you're still watching that amazing first season? Or have you progressed into some of the more truly bizarre stuff that happens later on? Wherever you're at, do let me know below, down in the comments.